Welcome friends to another video, welcome to another list, but this time around this isn't a list with 10 fragrances that I recommend. These are actually 10 fragrances from my current collection that I regret purchasing. These are 10 worst fragrances I bought and still have in my collection. Although throughout the years I bought many fragrances, hundreds of fragrances, and I've had the chance to see a lot of bad fragrances. These are actually the ones that I truly regret at this time in life having in my collection. Let's start the list. There are going to be 3 fragrances. There is one house that dominates this list, and this is the house of Mancera, believe it or not. And I'm going to start with the first one, and a lot of people will probably disagree, but well, it's my list, it's my opinion. This is Mancera with lemon mint. This is such a disappointment for me because it's so hyped in the online community. It's considered to be one of the best fragrances the Mancera ever created and whatnot. To me, it isn't. It isn't. This is a synthetic mess from the beginning up until the end. This is a very overflowing, sweet fragrance that has no quality for me. It smells really bad on my skin. I've had this fragrance for a long time. Therefore, I've worn it so many times. I gave it time to, let's say, to change the composition if you want. And unfortunately, it still doesn't manage to impress me at all. You have that green almond note inside, which is very bad. It's very sweet at the same time. And I see a lot of people saying that this is a summer fragrance. I completely disagree. This is a wintertime fragrance, for me at least, because it is a very sweet fragrance. First and foremost, it's sickening sweet. Also, a good point for this fragrance is the performance, because it has really great longevity, really great projection, and really great sillage. But that's it. Fortunately, it's discontinued. It's becoming harder to get your hands on a bottle of oud lemon mint, so I wouldn't say that I regret the fact that it's discontinued. The second one, another overly hyped fragrance from this house, called Aoud Cafe, or as I like to call it, Miss Celery, because this has nothing in common with agarwood or with coffee. This is celery from the beginning till the end, and it smells like green celery. I don't know how they managed to create this fragrance, to create this celery accord, but fortunately it's a very poor performing fragrance because it's very short lived. I usually get at best 6 hours of longevity with Oud Cafe. Also, there is no hint at least of coffee or agarwood in this fragrance. Only celery. Poor longevity, poor projection, and very poor sillage. Oud Cafe, the second entry. And let's go to the last one, the third one. Again, another overly hyped fragrance, Wingwood. Ladies and gentlemen, a very boring and uninspiring fragrance for me, which I honestly regret purchasing, just like Oud Cafe and Oud Lemon Mint. Because if you are researching for this fragrance in the online environment, you're going to see a lot of overhyping reviews saying that this is so good, that this is smelling so great, that the performance is amazing, and whatnot, and so on and so forth. In reality, for me, it isn't. This is a very generic, very weak leather-based fragrance with some woody hints. Also, performance-wise, is very poor, just like Oud Cafe. I get the same longevity, I get the same sillage and projection. Also, this one smells a lot with another fragrance that I have from Mancera called Oud Violet, because in this one you also have violet. In that one, obviously, you have violet combined with agarwood and some spices, but it manages to somehow smell almost identical to Oud Violet. The main difference is that that one is a really great performer compared to this one. This is very uninspiring, it's very generic. You can actually buy better fragrances from designer houses that cost a lot less than what Wingwood costs. Very disappointed in this one. Unfortunately, I have to show you a fragrance from my favorite niche house, and this is called Bergamotto di Calabria. And the only reason for which I'm including this fragrance in this list is the performance. The smell is absolutely amazing. One of the best bergamots you can purchase on the market. Very bright, very refreshing, very clean, very uplifting, amazing in hot weather, especially in summertime. But unfortunately, the longevity and projection and sillage are quite poor. I usually get with this one, depending on the scenario, somewhere between 6 to 8 hours of longevity on my skin, which is okay. But unfortunately, this smells so good. The bergamot in this one is so natural, it's so beautifully made that you would wish for it to have a better performance. It isn't a very cheap fragrance also, therefore, due to the lack of performance, I'm including this one in this list of worst decisions or worst acquisitions if you want. Next one up, another niche house, this time around Nishane from Turkey, and their colonies. Another example of when niche houses are cloning designer houses if you want. This one shares a lot of similarities and also notes to one of the most cheapest fragrances that you can buy, 4711 from Maurer und Wirtz, which costs a couple of bucks, I don't know, $6, something like that. But the only thing differentiating colonies from 4711 is the longevity. This one has better longevity, but the projection and the sillage are almost invisible with this one. It smells great because you have an interesting green tea note inside, which is very calming, very beautiful, combined with the citruses, but that's it. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing unique, if you ask me. Actually, in reality, I find 4711 to be more interesting than this one. And the biggest downside of this fragrance, if you want, is the price, because it's a quite expensive fragrance, if you ask me, considering what it's offering. This costs 135 euros, so quite expensive if you ask me. And that's why I wouldn't recommend anyone to go and pay retail price, only to try to buy it at a very, very low or cheap price. I don't know, you're hunting offers and whatnot, discounts and so on, because in reality, it's uninspiring. Yes, it has better longevity than the very cheap 4711, but scent-wise, they are quite similar, and the only differentiator in this one is the tea note, and that's it. Nothing more. So, colonies from Nishane, it's great for summer, it's great for hot weather, but let's be honest, you can get a lot cheaper fragrances for a lot less money compared to colonies. Next one up comes from the house of Chopard, and this is musk malki, or as I like to call it, leather malki, because this would be the real name of this fragrance. A very uninspiring, very, I would say, poor interpretation of the leather note found in this one, combined with musk, obviously, and you get a hint of animalic leather due to this combination. Unfortunately, very poor performance also in the terms of aoud cafe from Mancera and Wingwood. So 5 to 6 hours of longevity on my skin at least. And the scent, it's very uninspiring. It's very dull, it's very boring. And as I said before, I highly recommend you to go and buy a designer fragrance that's 2 times cheaper than this one from Mercedes-Benz called Le Parfum. If you like leather fragrances, give a try to Mercedes-Benz Le Parfum. You're gonna definitely love it, because that one smells great and also performs great compared to this one. Also, this one has been discontinued, so it's quite hard to find it nowadays. But what can I say? If you love leather fragrances, give it a try. Don't buy a full bottle. Try to buy a decant or a sample, and only afterwards go ahead and purchase a full bottle. For me, this is a big disappointment, and it's one of the worst, let's say, fragrances that I bought and I still have in my collection. Next one up, of course, CK1 Gold. I've spoken about this fragrance so many times, complaining of how poor it is. It's a very cheap fragrance, a dirt cheap fragrance, just like all Calvin Klein's. But I bought this one a couple of years ago, mainly because it has fig inside, and I'm a big fig lover. Unfortunately, it's so poor made. The ingredients are very poor. Performance-wise, it's abysmal. It's a genderless fragrance. It isn't worth mentioning, actually. Therefore, one of my worst purchases, CK1 Gold. Next one up, this is a great fragrance in terms of quality, in terms of performance, in terms of the price, but I simply hate the scent. Koraf in White Intense. Why I don't like this fragrance? Because it smells identically like Paco Rabanne Invictus Aqua. This is Paco Rabanne Invictus Aqua on steroids, people. The exact same scent. I've tested both fragrances together at the same time. They smell identical, although they have a different composition. And this one comes out as a, let's say, higher quality juice with better ingredients, better performance, better projection and sillage overall compared to Invictus Aqua. But the fact that it smells identical to that one, for me, it's a no-go. Because I really hate Invictus Aqua. I hate this type of fragrances, bubblegummy fragrances. I can stand them and their sweetness. Therefore, although this is a very good creation in terms of quality, performance, and also the price point is really great, I simply can't stand the scent. You can purchase this one 3 times cheaper, for example, than Invictus Aqua. So if you love Paco Rabanne Invictus Aqua, you really need to get your nose on Core Laughing White Intense. Next one up, a lot of people will be disappointed probably, but yeah. Lalique, Encre Noire Sport. Yeah, I love the original Encre Noire. I consider it to be one of the best male fragrances ever created. I love wearing it. It's one of my signature scents. I don't really enjoy wearing Lalique Encre Noire à l'extrême because it has those resins inside, which I really can't tolerate. But this one, because I have this bottle for about 4 years already in my collection, this doesn't get too much love from me, mainly because I don't get why they tried to make an aquatic Encre Noire. Basically, the vetiver in this one is very watered down. Also, the grapefruit and the aquatic notes are not working together in this composition. Therefore, don't get me wrong, it isn't a bad scent. Still, if you love the original Encre Noire, at least in my case, I honestly cannot wear Encre Noire Sport. Other people love it, it's their problem. They find the original Encre Noire to be too dark for their taste, to be too mature and whatnot. For me, that one is a real classy gentleman's fragrance. That's why I love it, that's why I like it. And unfortunately, I cannot tolerate this experiment that Lalique tried with the sport version. And the last fragrance in this list, ladies and gentlemen, Apocalypse. Yeah, Armaf, Club de Nuit, Sillage. Yeah, I'm the only one in the online who said that this fragrance is not good. And I'm keeping my opinion because I stand behind what I said in the review. I consider this to be one of the worst fragrances that I ever bought, together with Oud Lemon Mint, for example. And this is so poor. So poorly made with, I don't know, poor performance. Also, the quality of the ingredients is really poor. And the whole composition comes out as a very dirt cheap synthetic mess, which I cannot honestly appreciate, especially considering the price point of this fragrance, which isn't too expensive, but it isn't really cheap either, compared to Club de Nuit Intense Man or, I don't know, Milestone, for example. I love Club de Nuit Intense Man. I really love it, especially in spring and autumn or fall. I like Milestone, but I cannot tolerate Sillage. This is obnoxious for me. Basically, it tries too hard to be something that it actually isn't, ending at the same time, just like the original, if you want, from Creed. And performance-wise is really poor. Projection-wise is really poor. Sillage is really poor. The quality of the ingredients is really poor. And the overall scent is poorly made. I honestly do not like this fragrance. I honestly do not appreciate it. I don't know why it gets so hyped in the online community. I don't know why it's so, I don't know, acclaimed throughout the internet. Because in honesty, in reality, for me, this is one of the worst fragrances that I ever bought in my entire life. I know there are a lot of fans who really like it, who really appreciate it and whatnot. Sorry, dudes, this isn't quality. This isn't worthy of the hype, and this isn't worthy actually of the price, because you can purchase this fragrance. I found it on online retailers, for example, at 74, 75 euros, believe it or not. At that price point, I can go and buy a Mancera, for example. I can buy a Montal, for example. I could buy something else, I don't know, from Christian Dior or from Armani. And I can actually get a really good fragrance, and I can actually get really good quality out of that fragrance compared to what this one is trying so hard to do and fails in the end. These are my 10 worst fragrances that I bought and still have in my collection. These are my opinions. You do not have to agree with them. You do not have to disagree with them. To each his own opinion. But unfortunately, these aren't fragrances that are worthy of your hard-earned money. You can try them out, sample them first, as I always say in my videos, see how they smell, see how they perform on your skin, and only afterwards, based on your own conclusions, go ahead and purchase a full bottle. I'm gonna stop here. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. As always, my friends, be safe, be good. And remember, smell good, feel good.